given the circumstances we are operating in, I think, because I can see some of the members who had been listed as having some seats in the chamber this afternoon still making their way there. Obviously, you know, there are others who think that the House starts at 4 p.m. So they are still making their way. So for purposes of what we are supposed to do, I declare that we quorate for purposes of the preliminary business that needs to be transacted. Proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
Honourable members, as you're aware, our standing order number 41, subsection 4, of the National Assembly standing orders requires the Speaker to report to the House any message received from the Senate. In this regard, I wish to report that I have received a message from the Senate regarding its approval of the following bills. A, the mediated version of the County Government's Amendment number 2 Bill, Senate Bill number 7 of 2017, and B, the mediated version of the County Government's Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 11 of 2017. In summary, the message conveyed that the Senate, by a resolution made on the 21st of April 2020, approved the mediated versions of the two bills. You'll also recall that the two bills were referred to a mediation committee after the Senate initially disagreed with the amendments made by the National Assembly. The mediation committee was led by the member for Kipipiri, the Honorable Amos Kimunya, EGH MP, on the side of the National Assembly. The reports of the mediation committees containing the mediated versions of the said bills were laid on the table of the House, and notice of motion on the same given on Wednesday, 22nd April 2020, in accordance with the provisional standing order number 150, subsection 1. As you may have noticed from the order paper of today afternoon, the House Business Committee has since scheduled the two bills to be considered by the House on Wednesday, May 6, 2020, thereby concluding the bicameral processes on the two bills. and the House is thus accordingly informed.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
First, a request for statement by the member for Kinangop, the Honorable Dhuku Kwenya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to issue a statement of condolence on demise of late Kimani Wanyoike, who was a member of parliament for Kinangop and Kipipiri, the defunct Nyandarua South constituency. Honorable Speaker, I wish to make a statement regarding the demise of the veteran politician and former member of parliament, Nyandarua South, current Kinangop and Kipipiri constituencies. The late Honorable Kimani Wanyoike passed on while undergoing treatment in Nairobi. Honorable Speaker, the late Wanyoike had an illustrious career as a vocal trade unionist and a politician. It would be remembered that Honorable Wanyoike ran for presidency in 1997 on a Ford People ticket. Honorable Speaker, the late Honorable Wanyoike was a charismatic, patriotic, and dedicated numerous of his years to the service of the Nyandarua South constituency and the nation at large. Kenyans will also remember him as one of the heroes who selflessly fought for multipartyism, ushering the country into unprecedented spheres of democracy. He served for 9 years as a member of parliament for Nyandarua South constituency, later to be named Kinangop and Kipipiri constituencies in Nyandarua district. I wish to, on behalf of the National Assembly, the people of Kinangop constituency, and indeed on my own behalf, convey our sincere condolences to his family, friends, and the people of the larger Nyandarua County for this great loss. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Next, by the Honorable Caleb Kostanyi, member for Soy. Now, can you inform Sergeant at Arms? Can you inform the member for Soy? The member for Soy, he better be informed that he stands a chance of losing. Member for Muranga, the Honorable Sabina Chege, you are here. Are you requesting a statement or you are providing some statement? Proceed to request the statement, then later when we finish with the request, then you can give the name. You don't have a card? What is it? What is it? Can you tell the ICT people, I don't want to hear these things about members' cards not working. Certainly not at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 442C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Education and Research regarding digital e-learning and status of end-of-term and semester examination for learners in schools, that is both primary and secondary schools, colleges, universities, and other institutions in this country. Honorable Speaker, It is on the account of these ongoing challenges occasioned by the coronavirus disease COVID-19 pandemic in the country on schools and colleges learning program that I seek a statement from the chairperson of Departmental Committee on Education and Research on the following. One, on what has the Ministry of Education put in place to address the learning and examination programs for schools, colleges, university, and other institutions in the country without compromising the education calendar and subsequent years for the learners, including graduations and other ceremonies. This, Honorable Speaker, also includes the KCP and KCSE examination. Two, what measures is the ministry putting in place to address the gap that e-learning is not equitable to all learners due to limited or no access at all to the internet, equipment, gadgets such as radio and TV, and other infrastructure such as power, electricity in their areas and homes. And three, if the digital e-learning and use of other devices will indeed be enrolled, what measures has the government put in place to ensure effective teaching, dissemination, and learning to all pupils and students in schools, colleges, and universities and other institutions throughout the country in a holistic, cheaper if not free, equitable, standardized, and qualitative manner? And four, to explain how the said digital learning away from classes will be accessible to those children from extremely disadvantaged families whose parents have neither laptop, smart television sets, and smartphones, or even electricity or other power source. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, is the Chair of Education in the chamber, or I saw him in the morning? Well, if he is not in the afternoon sitting, then the request will be channeled through the Leader of the Majority's office.
Speaker, next week, Wednesday,
Yes,
I'll ask the Honorable Sabina to give me a copy.
very well. The next request is by the Honorable Martin Owino, member of Bondiwa. The Honorable Martin Owino.
Martin, you look different.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was from outside. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request a statement from the chairperson, Departmental Committee of Education and Research regarding preparations and precautionary measures during the NDE exams for Class 8 and Form 4s in the country during pandemic period of this COVID-19. Honorable Speaker, considering that the government will open schools to allow students to take their NDA examinations for Class 8 and Form 4s, while adhering to the measures put place to contain and bring to end the spread of the coronavirus, it has been observed, notably, that many primary school and secondary schools are still facing infrastructure challenges, such as the use of desks, overpopulated classrooms, dormitories, and lack of modern technology. Also access to to water, soap, sanitizers, and a fact that some schools will be used as isolation and quarantine centers. If necessary, the government will use more schools. Mr. Speaker, it is against this background that I seek statement from the Chairperson Departmental Committee on Education and Research on the followings. One, what preparations and precautionary measures has the ministry undertaken to ensure that the government policy and directives on hygiene and social distancing by schools are observed and adhered to the latter when they reopen? Number two, what steps has the ministry taken to ensure that essential commodities are available and will be distributed to all schools? Number three, what measures have been put in place to ensure that fumigation and sanitation of schools that were identified and used as quarantine centers are done thoroughly before reopening of schools? Number 4, would the government consider waiving payment of tuition and exam fees to the needy students who cannot afford, considering that the income of many Kenyans has been diminished by COVID-19? The last one, Mr. Speaker, does the ministry have a plan to engage counselors to promote guidance and emotional support system, considering COVID-19 is surrounded by fear and stigma? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Once again, that is directed to the chairman, Education and Research Committee. But I'm wondering why the chairperson is not in the house, because he's supposed to respond to. But he's supposed to be responding when we finish with these requests. And now he will respond to the. The Chair Education Committee. You cannot be without a chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think I also agree that chairs should be having chairs to respond to seats so that they can be able to respond to statements and questions. I pray that I shall be able to bring these statements back to the House next week, Wednesday. Thank you. I also have a statement.
Sergeant at Arms, can you allocate the Chair Education, one of these empty seats? There are very many members who,
Yes.
And we have since decided, after 3 p.m., all these seats, those who have indicated they are coming and they are not here, the seats should be taken by those others who desire to be present that are in the tents and other holding areas. The next request is by the member for Thika Town, Patrick Wainaina Jagu. Member for Thika Town. Is he in the house? Or the one in a green tie? Looks like a snake. Honorable Django.
Yes, sir.
Please make your request.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A request for statement pursuant to Standing Order number 44-2C regarding status of the application for renewal of land lease for Del Monte Company. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee of Lands regarding the status of the application for the renewal of the land lease of Del Monte Kenya Limited. Honorable Speaker, Del Monte Kenya Limited is Kenya's largest producer and exporter of pineapple, produce and other, and other fruit beverages, moving an average of 4,000 containers per annum, earning the country over $90 million in foreign exchange annually. Honorable Speaker, the company, which has been in existence in Kenya for more than 50 years, has established world-class plantation and industrial operations, providing employment for more than 6,500 Kenyans. As one of the company's largest single employer, the company injects about 2.7 billion in annual payroll. In addition, the company pays over Kenya shillings 5 billion annually to more than 320 small-scale, medium food suppliers, local suppliers of various materials and services, as well as support industries and packaging in packaging materials. This further creates employment for almost other 28,000 Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, the land lease for the Del Monte Company land expires in 2022, and Del Monte did commence in 2012 the process of applying for renewal of the land lease. Regrettably to date, no decision has been made on the same. The delay is negatively affecting the company's operations, employees, suppliers, and other dependents, as well as the livelihood of thousands of families and hundreds of businesses that rely on the company production. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Lands. In her statement, the chairperson should inform the House on the following. Number one, what is the status of application for renewal on the land lease for Del Monte Kenya Limited? Number two, aware that this company, a company of this magnitude, requires a minimum of 5 years to plan its operations. And considering that the land lease expires in 2022, what is the government doing to expedite the renewal process? Number three, are there plans to conduct land survey of Del Monte Company Limited with a view of establishing actual size, land size, leased to the company? Number four, are there plans to carry out forensic audit of all land leased to Del Monte with view of establishing the status of used land, unused land, and public land? Number five, what are the timelines for renewal of Del Monte land lease to be determined in order to enable the company to plan its operations? I know the committee has received many such requests, but this is a 0 hour for Del Monte. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity to condole with those affected by COVID-19, pamoja tukomeshe corona. Asante.
Statement you are seeking. There's a motion where you will be able to now proceed to handle what you've done.
That's right. Thank you.
Sergeant, at times I can see the chair of Lands Committee to whom this statement, the request is directed, is standing at the door there. Can she be afforded a... There are very many seats. After the next 2 minutes, Sergeant, at times don't bother about people coming to claim that they were supposed to sit to be in the afternoon. Allow, just fill all the other seats with those who are keen to participate in parliamentary business. Can you allow the chair of Lands to come in? Chair of Lands, that request is directed at you.
Indeed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, I was at the members' launch, and I was able to listen to the Honorable Wajangon, and I would like to say that we will be able to respond to him in 1 week. That is Wednesday next week, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. You can take a seat. Don't bother going to sit out there. There are very many empty ones. Even the member for Thika Town should be given a seat. There are very many empty ones. We are not going to wait for those who have not come. The House sat from 2:30. At 3 p.m., we cannot be saying that you had been listed to come. For the second time, member for Soy, the Honorable Kositani Caleb.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, protect me from the leader of majority, I'm sure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to seek a statement regarding the utilization of over shillings 40 billion during the prevention and management of the spread of the coronavirus disease, COVID-19, in this country. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning regarding the utilization of Kenya shillings 40 billion during the prevention and management of the spread of the coronavirus disease, COVID-19 in the country. Honorable Speaker, however, it has been alleged and observed that the government has so far spent Kenya shillings 40 billion on various initiatives against this It is against this background, Mr. Speaker, that I seek a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning to address the following. 1, to explain how the utilization of over shillings 40 billion has been spent during prevention and management of the spread of the COVID-19 in this country. Which health responses, that is 2, which health responses have been undertaken and how much has been collected from citizens who are paying for the quarantine costs. Which and how much tax refunds have been made by the Kenya Revenue Authority, who have made it clear that they are not implementing the presidential directive until it is approved by Parliament. How many elderly persons have been paid, how much per person, and what criteria was used to identify the beneficiaries? How much has been spent on the National Intelligence Service during the period, and why NIS needed extra funding to undertake what it was established to do? How much has been paid to small, medium enterprises to cushion their businesses during this pandemic, and what criteria was used in identifying the beneficiaries? Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, how many health medics, workers, and operators have been recruited, and what are they being paid as salaries and allowances, including provisions of personal protection equipment, PPEs? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That is the Chair of Finance. Yes, Leader of Majority, what's your point of order?
Speaker, the 40 billion the member is alleging to have been used by government in the war against COVID-19, unless he provides evidence to the House. This is a House of Rules. If it is from the social media, from where I sit, the appropriation bill we are doing this afternoon is the one that gives money for COVID-19. So unless this 40 billion evidence is provided, I saw it, every day, 1 billion, 1 billion. So unless evidence is provided, then I don't know, maybe the Chair of Finance, where is he going to find it? Because today, this afternoon, what we are doing it, so I don't know, maybe you can guide the House. If the member is aware already that 40 billion have been spent, then the committee can find out. But where is this 40 billion? This is the House that appropriates. And the only appropriation that we are going to do is through supplementary this afternoon. So I think, Chair, you need to guide.
Well, even an answer to say that nothing has been spent is an answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Limo will come, or I don't know, because you see, in fairness, honorable members, remember, we are in exceptional circumstances, and I'm sure I've been seeing the Honorable Caleb Kotsani is an active member of what they call the night shift. And they have been raising that. That's why it has been picked. I've been seeing it. So I think the Chair of Finance will come and respond to the member of night shift. The Chair, Education. You have to respond to a request for a statement by the Honorable Esther Passaris. Honorable Mele? Where is the member for Nairobi? It's only fair that is she supposed to be sitting in the chamber or the other place?
Thank you.
Proceed, Honorable Mele.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on Wednesday last week, Honorable Member for Nairobi, Honorable Esther Passari sought a statement from the Chair, Departmental Committee on Education and Research regarding the distribution of sanitary towels to students while schools are temporarily closed during this period of COVID-19 pandemic. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Passari asked the Minister to, among other things, answer the following questions. That 1, how many girls are still benefiting from sanitary towels while schools are closed? 2, what measures are put in place to ensure the sanitary towels programs continues to cater for girls registered in public schools by the Ministry of Education to access the pads? And 3, what mechanisms are being employed in the distribution of sanitary towels to all girls at their places of residence, and the measures put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19? Honorable Speaker, as was asked, we got a written response or statement from the CS, and it goes as follows. Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, sanitary towels are expected to benefit a total of 1,698,763 girls enrolled in classes 6 to 8 in selected public and all special primary schools in 47 counties in the country that were captured in the program when the distribution is complete. The delivery to the Sub-County Directors of Education Office was completed by March 31st, 2020 for the current financial year, 2019-2020, at a cost of 375 million shillings before the schools closed. See attached table. Honorable Speaker, the CS has attached a table to this statement, and I think I will also table it, which lists all the counties and the number of girls that have benefited from number 1, Baringo County, to number 47, West Pokot County. Question number 2. Honorable Speaker, the program is aimed, the question is, what measures are put in place to ensure the sanitary towels program continues to cater for girls registered in public schools by the Ministry of Education to access the pads? Honorable Speaker, the program is aimed at providing sanitary towels once to girls in public primary and special schools across the country for use throughout the school calendar. It mainly targets girls in class 6 and 8, the age at which majority sets in. Other girls who join school at an older age and are in lower primary are also included in the program. The package issued to each of the targeted girls is expected to last them through the calendar year. Question number 3. What mechanisms are being employed in the distribution of sanitary towels to all girls at their places of residence, and the measures put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19? The response from the CS. Honorable Speaker, the sanitary towels are delivered directly to the Sub-County Director of Education Offices by the manufacturers, from where the head teachers of schools in these specific sub-counties pick them based on a number of beneficiaries from their institutions. The sub-counties that received their supplies before the closure of schools issue the towels to the eligible head teachers, who distribute them to the targeted girls. The other sub-county offices, where sanitary delivery was done after the schools closed, will issue them to the head teachers when the schools open, due to complications in logistics involved in reaching the students in their respective homes, given the current partial lockdown and dusk to dawn curfew. I further wish to confirm that my ministry is strictly implementing measures to curb the spread of COVID-19 as spearheaded by the government. I think he hasn't indicated the measures he's taking, just affirmed. So that is the response to the statement by Honorable Esther Passaris, and I therefore table the statement and the list. I think if you direct, Speaker, I think the members will get the list from various counties. Thank you.
Very well from the statement. But is the member for Nairobi in the chamber or in any other, the other holding grounds? Honorable Sabina Chege, you want to say something about that? Generally, because it's about sanitary towels, eh?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
You know, I'm a mother and I'm a woman too.
Absolutely.
And so I would wish to really comment about what the Chair for Education has answered. Mr. Speaker, I'm a bit worried when he says the process that the ministry uses, because there's a time the women reps was part of and parcel of distribution of these sanitary towels. And when we left it to the suppliers to actually deposit them at the sub-county, by the time the sanitary towels were taken back to the ministry, some sub-counties had not received, Mr. Speaker. And I would actually want to know what happened, because money had been allocated, people had been given contracts, and these girls never got these sanitary towels. We don't know how long the COVID will stay. These girls need the sanitary towels. Mr. Speaker, that time of the month does not wait because there's COVID. So the girls are experiencing their menses every month. So I would request maybe the Committee on Education to further become innovative and see how would these sanitary towels get to the girls. Mainly they're the girls between class 6 and class 8, and the schools are within their reach. And I know even the sub-chief, even through the provincial administration, these sanitary towels can be availed in their primary schools or secondary schools nearby, and they can be told when to go and pick, because there are some who has no other source of these sanitary towels. So as we wait for the pandemic and for the schools to reopen, I would wish that the ministry will be more active and actually become more innovative to make sure that these girls will still receive these sanitary towels even if they are not in school. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, I see some other interventions. Honorable, about these sanitary towels. Member from Vita, you also want to say something about sanitary towels?
No, Mr. Speaker, I actually wanted to speak on what the honorable member had requested on the issue of finance, but my apologies on that.
I see. Okay. I see the Honorable Chebet, member for Nandi County.
Honorable Speaker, I just feel like our children should not wait for COVID-19 to end before they receive the sanitary pads. We M-Pesa money to the old, and such a plan can be designed so that the parents of those children can be M-Pesa some money so that our children can access sanitary pads. This money is budgeted for, and we cannot say they wait. Thank you.
Honorable David Ouma.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. This is not a small matter as such. We, from the rural constituencies, know what happens in these places. There are situations where these towels are also given, but the girls can't even access pants. So the idea would be to ask the committee to ensure that this intervention is wholesome, so that children are able to get what they need wholly. I mean, you can't give towels but the person who's supposed to use them doesn't have what is going to hold the towel. So I want to request the chair of the committee to ensure that as this is being done, the accompanying, I mean, you've seen in this period, if this country can afford to give everyone masks, why not give our young girls pants to go along with the towels? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mele, do you want to respond to some of those comments? The information I have here is that the Honorable Pasaris is saying to be on the way. This is not parliamentary. We don't know about somebody being on the way. Where?
Honorable Speaker, I think the issues of sanitary towels is quite weighty matter because our daughters actually require them. But I want to also agree to some extent with the CS that whereas they have these sanitary towels will be distributed in schools, if it is taken from house to house across the expansive country, it is going to be quite a hectic kind of duty. But it doesn't give the ministry an excuse not to distribute them on time and to ensure that our girls have them. Two, I heard what Honorable Ochieng has just said that it has to have some accompaniments. I think sanitary towels are sanitary towels. What else do you need to be for the girl child? You need the you want the ministry to supply the underwears and everything. Yes, maybe that's what Honorable Ochieng is just saying.
It's not a debate.
Yes.
Now I can see the member from Muranga wants to say that she wants to inform you.
So I think that, and the CS is going to execute this very well, Honorable Speaker, because it's coming before our committee next week on Tuesday. If actually members who are concerned, you can come before the committee and you can answer and elaborate most of them. Thank you.
Now it looks like this is, don't make it like an agenda issue. The Honorable Janet Ongera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to also make a comment. Mr. Speaker, while I appreciate what the chairman of the Education Committee has said, but Mr. Speaker, there is really an elephant in the room in this issue of the sanitary towels. The manner in which they are distributed, Mr. Speaker, is extremely haphazard. Our children, our girls are not getting them in time. And Mr. Speaker, it was even politicized. When we distributed these sanitary pads, Mr. Speaker, in the year 2018, the women reps were given that chance as patrons of these girls. It was done in a very orderly manner, Mr. Speaker, and it was there for everybody to see, indeed, the numbers. Even the teachers really appreciated in the manner that it was done. Today, Mr. Speaker, as I speak, Kisii County, which I'm the county member of parliament, has not received these sanitary towels. In fact, I'm being hit every other day thinking that perhaps it's me who has eaten this money for sanitary towels, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, you know I'm above board on such issues. My history speaks for myself. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to suggest that it does not matter which ministry these sanitary towels are, whether it is in Gender Ministry or Ministry of Education. But I think that the patrons of the girl child, who are the women reps, the 47 women reps, should be given a chance so that they can also be able to give their say in how these sanitary pads are distributed and to see, because we have an interest to see that actually they reach the ultimate user. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
Very well, honourable members, I think it's important to appreciate what the chair of the committee has just said, that the CS will be appearing before the committee next Tuesday. And some of the issues that you are raising about the manner of distribution, the point raised by the Honourable Chieng about accompaniment and such like, maybe the CS will be in a better position to respond while still dealing with other issues that the committee, as the Honourable Chair has just stated. It will be much better if you can go and canvass the matter further. Honourable Rachel Nyamai, what is your intervention?
Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank you very much for inviting me from outside so that I could listen and also take the statement which was raised by the Honorable Wajangul. Honorable Speaker, you also ordered that I come and sit in this, and you used your hands and you said, I sit on this direction. And the Honorable Leader of Majority also said that I sit here. After a few minutes, Honorable Speaker, the chair for budget has come in. This chair is clearly marked Chair Budget and Appropriations. The Chair Budget and Appropriations. I have a lot of respect for him. But Honorable Speaker, he has told me, in quotes, that reading ikianza toka. Mr. Speaker, I don't take this kind lightly because he is very bulldozing. After that, Honorable Speaker, one of the sergeant at arms, one of the good-looking ones, I don't know his name, he has been calling me like this. And when I looked at him, he's directing me to go out. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that I am in the list of those who are sitting in the afternoon sitting. And I would like to participate in the Small Arms Claims Bill, which is being moved by the Honorable Duale, and also the Supplementary Appropriations Bill. So I am not ready to get out. And he has been calling me very nicely, asking me to follow him. So, Honorable Speaker, I would like you to request them to give me a place to sit. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You know, there is nothing out of order. So, and you know, because you want to pretend that because of COVID-19, we are not going to follow the standing orders, we will follow them. So, the Honorable Rachel Nyamai, stay put. We will show you what will happen when the third reading comes. Member for Kamukunji, you are raising your hand up for what is the issue? Insert your card in. Make a request by intervention. There's an intervention section. Get him. Give him.
Why is mine coming?
that mic working?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raise also on an issue of concern because I was allocated a seat, but I was not able to find my seat does not exist. The 255.
That's not really that you are seated somewhere. Well,
yeah, but
is it just you want to be seen to be speaking, or
no,
is
no,
that
but
an issue? Just go back and sit where you are seated.
I want to raise an issue so that actually I am an elected representative. I represent the people of Kamkunji.
I know you are elected.
I understand the circumstances that we're going through, but I think there should be some consideration for members of parliament who have already been allocated seats, that they should be allocated. I have been seated at another place which belongs to another person, and I've been told that I should be vacating it as well. So I would like to be assured that we are all equal as members of parliament, and there isn't a lesser member of parliament.
Please go back.
Thank you.
Otherwise, I see, that's such a frivolous point here. It's the kind of thing that should earn you suspension for the balance of the day. Because, surely, you are seated, Honorable Yusuf. Surely, who doesn't know that you are the elected member of parliament for Kamukunji? Unless you want to tell maybe people in the diaspora who may not have known. Surely, Honorable Yusuf, and you are comfortably seated inside the chamber. You appear to be happy even. So, don't worry. We say that after 3 p.m., even those who had been indicated as being allocated seats and they are not coming to the chamber by 3 p.m., they forfeit that chance. There's no going to, we must allow those members who are willing to be in the chamber to be in the chamber. You don't indicate that you are coming for the afternoon sitting, and by 3 p.m., 30 minutes down the road, you have not come. You better go and do other things, maybe in the village. Okay, but we cannot have seats which are empty. And therefore, Honorable Yusuf, stay put. You have every right to be in the chamber just like any other. It's only that we are living in the circumstances that we are. So don't feel like you are not a lesser member. The Chair, Labor and Social Welfare Committee, Honorable Ali Wario.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on Wednesday, 22nd April 2020, the member for Undanyi, Honorable Damu Ashako, sought for a statement pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C from the Chairperson Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding implementation of National Safety Net Program administered by State Department for Social Protection. In particular, the member sought information regarding the following: the measures the ministry is putting in place to ensure all vulnerable persons, particularly the elderly above the age of 70 years, are included in the program.
Members of the Fourth Estate, welcome to our 42nd brief on coronavirus response in the country. Fellow Kenyans, welcome to our daily coronavirus update. Yesterday, we issued specific guidelines on how eateries and restaurants will be reopened. Today, we want to confirm to you that the protocols and management guidelines have since been uploaded on our website, and these can be accessed on www.health.go.ke. We encourage those interested in reopening their facilities to dedicate some time and keenly go through the protocols in order to be familiar with all the requirements before opening. On a related matter, since we first reported our first COVID-19 case, we have recorded many recoveries of our people who have successfully been treated for the disease and who have been able to go home. While we celebrate these recoveries, we are disturbed that reintegration has not been easy for these people. We have reports of stigmatization by members of the community for our recovered cases. And this is unfortunate, considering our constant appeal and massive education to ensure that people are accepted back in the community. Just this morning, fellow Kenyans, we had a briefing with one of our recovered cases from ICU, a gentleman who was able to recover from coronavirus disease. And as he was sharing his story with us, he's given us disturbing events with regard to how he's been accepted back in the community, issues and experiences that have not been pleasant for him and his family. And we need to appeal to you and to remind us all that the only way we can be able to beat this disease is if we avoid issues like stigmatization. Stigmatization will lead to fewer Kenyans accepting to be tested, and it will frustrate the efforts that we are putting on the ground to ensure that we flatten this curve. So we really do appeal for compassion in the community, for understanding, and even for celebrating these people who have been able to go through such a scourge and come out and recover. We do continue to appeal to our brothers and sisters to be considerate, to warmly welcome and embrace our people when discharged from hospital. And to this end, we are taking additional and deliberate steps to partner with patients who have recovered to spread their awareness. We are glad that the number of recoveries keeps rising day by day. And today, we've discharged an additional 5 patients, and this brings to the number of total recoveries 129. Regarding our COVID-19 situation, we continue to see a trend where we have new positive cases recorded primarily in Nairobi and Mombasa counties. While this may be indicative of the disease being domiciled in these 2 counties, it is also a pointer to the immense work that is required in Nairobi and Mombasa. And therefore, as we spotlight Nairobi and Mombasa and ensure that we enhance our interventions there, this is not a license for other counties to celebrate and to drop their guard. Rather, it is a call to action for the rest of the country to enhance the containment measures and to ensure that the virus is kept at bay and the curve is flattened. In the last 24 hours, we have tested a total of 508 samples from 14 counties. Out of this number, 10 tested positive for coronavirus, and of these, 9 are from Mombasa and 1 from Nairobi. This brings to total 384 total number of positive cases in the country. From the number tested, 284 samples were from Nairobi, while 89 were from Mombasa. All the 9 cases in Mombasa were picked from the community by our disease surveillance teams. And it is important that I emphasize at this point that indeed, from the data that we are synthesizing, we are noting that in the beginning of this scourge, we had most of the cases being imported cases, but right now, the tables have turned and most of our cases are coming from local transmission within our communities. And so our containment measures are quite crucial at this point. Each of the following areas has had 1 case: Old Town, Santana, Miritini, Bamburi, Mikandani, Kibokoni, Ganjoni, Memon, and Chuda. The Nairobi case is from Kawangware. As government, we have continued to partner with Mombasa County on containment measures to curtail the spread of infection, and we are organizing for additional and enhanced surveillance and management support for Mombasa County. We are also urging Mombasa County residents to rededicate themselves in this fight and support the county government of Mombasa and national government in helping to contain this virus. With regard to age distribution, today's 10 cases are aged between 12 and 63 years, and in terms of gender, 6 are male and 4 are female. We have also shared with you the current distribution of cases by county of detection and isolation, and this will be availed to you. It's important to note and maintain that Nairobi and Mombasa maintain lead with the highest number of isolated cases. We do thank you all Kenyans for your continued commitment in this fight, But we also would like to remind you to remember to be compassionate and to be your brother's keeper. Together, we will be able to beat this virus. And again, fellow Kenyans, the matter of stigma could actually take us behind if we don't work together and remember that we are our brother's keeper. At this juncture, I'd like to invite Waziri Wamalwa to give updates on county preparedness. Karibu, Waziri.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm here today on behalf of the Ministry of Devolution and Asals and the State Department of Special Programs to appreciate the good work that our colleagues at the Ministry of Health are doing on behalf of national government, and particularly with regard to collaborating and cooperating with the counties. We've been working very, very closely, both levels of government, to deal with these situations, and indeed they have done a wonderful job. Today, I've come to engage them further to see how we can strengthen this collaboration, how we can also increase support to the counties, particularly those that are most affected. I'm very happy that from our meeting today, a lot is being done towards this direction of increasing support. And I was happy to learn today that more support is being given to Mombasa. As you have heard from the cases reported, Mombasa is a hotspot. And indeed, from the cases reported today, the highest cases have come from there. But a lot of support is being lent to Mombasa in terms of PPEs that already have been dispatched, and I'm very happy to note that support. We also want to say that though we have the COVID situation in the country, and we are dealing with it, it's not a local issue, it's a global issue. We also are in the same breath dealing with another disaster of floods. In the midst of COVID crisis, the floods are back with us. As you remember last year, we started with drought at the earlier part of the year. Then we had floods beginning September going into October. Towards the end of the year, we had locusts. Indeed, our nation is a resilient nation, but our resilience has been tested over the last 1 year. So today, as we speak, we have several counties that have been affected by floods due to the heavy rains that are ongoing. They have suffered landslides. You heard about West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Kipkelion, and other areas that have suffered landslides. As a ministry in charge of special programs, we have put measures in place to ensure we give support to all families affected. As of today, we have been able to dispatch over 40,000 bags of rice and other food and non-food items to over 24 counties affected by floods. What we are urging that the families affected need our support. And even as we give them humanitarian support, we want to urge the counties to comply with the guidelines given by the Ministry of Health in terms of social distancing. It might be a challenge where we have families displaced, gathered in schools, but we must still utilize the schools that are yet to be opened to create enough space and distancing to ensure that we do not, in the process of supporting or lending humanitarian support to families displaced by floods, also expose them to the coronavirus. We want to ensure that also, as we distribute food, we are able to heed the guidelines given by the Ministry of Health. The protocols on food distribution have already been shared with the counties. And mine today is to urge the counties to heed those protocols. Even as we bring food to them, we want this food distributed through the county emergency teams, co-chaired by the governors and the county commissioners. We urge all leaders, including other politicians, to please work with the emergency response teams to follow the protocols even when distributing this food. As of today, the counties that I've said are affected are up to 29. And those that have lost lives, as we speak today, we have had over 116 lives lost to floods. We have also had over 100,000 households displaced. So we are urging that this humanitarian crisis that we are facing, even as we face it, let us work with the Ministry of Health and all the guidelines that have been given. So we want to thank you very much, Daktari, and urge that I think the country is happy with the updates, with the briefs that we have been receiving, but the counties are also urging that would like to see you and CS Kagwe coming down to the counties to actually get to the ground and see the state of preparedness in each county. And on behalf of the counties, we'll be very, very happy to accompany you so that we get down to the ground, see the situation as it is in different counties and their state of preparedness, so that we see how to deepen and to widen the support and cooperation and collaboration between the two levels of government so that we can cushion Kenyans against this COVID-19 and pandemic, as well as the floods and the locusts and all that are facing us today as a country. So let me thank you once more and urge you to come to the counties. Asante.
Yes. Tumesikia huo mwito na tutakuja. Thank you.
Yes.
Now over to questions.
My name is Purity Museo from KBC. CAS, Dr. Mercy, I would like to find out on the challenges that the government is facing, because you've been talking about rolling out mass testing, and that has not, you're still doing the target testing thus far, and from what you can see from other nations, mass testing is really helping in knowing how many people are sick, and then they could consider reopening the economy or slowly easing those lockdown restrictions. And then the other point, the other question goes to the CS for devolution. Sir, probably as the CS, apart from the people who've been affected by floods, status of preparedness in counties on COVID-19, would you say that probably Kenyans do not require any kind of aid, because most people have been asking for support, especially on food and other basic needs?
Patients that already have existing conditions, and how many of these? Number two, CS Omando has talked about Mombasa getting additional support. Maybe what kind of support are we looking at?
Great. Thank you. So I'll start with the first question from NTV with regard to the case in Kawangware. Indeed, the idea is that, yes, Kawangware now is an area that's under surveillance for us, especially after this first case, but also an area that is under surveillance for us because we have actually been monitoring with regards to adherence of the containment measures. And we've identified markets as one of the possible areas of transmission. If we look at the response that has been put in place by our different supermarkets, you can see that there's strict adherence to masking, there's strict adherence to use of sanitizers where necessary, and there's also adherence in terms of social distancing. I myself was actually touring the market this weekend, and I was able to see that in the marketplaces, some of these measures are not being adhered to. And so going forward, what we're doing is that we're going to deploy more surveillance teams. You'll be seeing all the different markets which have been marked as possible hotspots, having increased surveillance, having increased measures in terms of fumigation. We have a team that has come together with a schedule of how that will look like, but also coming up with innovative ways of how Mama Mboga can still continue with her trade, but ensure that social distance is facilitated. And I think this is an issue that we'll be able to elaborate on further. We do now have the call to be on the ground and to do those spot checks, and you'll be seeing most of us there trying to interact with the public and even have lessons as to how you can correctly put on a mask. Like I said, during the weekend over at Kawangware itself, I could notice people had masks, but they were on their chins. So these are some of the measures that we're going to be putting in place. With regard to Purity's question on challenges that we are facing, indeed, we've told you in past press briefings, there are challenges in trying to run a successful turn of a test. The tests that we are currently conducting are known as molecular tests, PCR tests. And for you to be able to do a PCR, after taking the sample, you have to run it through certain steps and mechanisms to be able to get your end result. Because of the global shortage, every time we get the kits, for example, you've seen we've gotten kits from JACMA, and even the Ministry of Health has procured kits. Every time we get the kits have certain components that come together to be able to do a successful run. And the greatest challenge that we are facing right now has been with the supply of nasopharyngeal swabs. We have had a series of interventions and meetings with different players to see how can we domesticate that swab to be able to ensure that it's actually utilized properly to correct the sample and to run a successful test. It's important to note, in terms of capacities, the country does have capacity to run tests. We can and components that go into the run for a test. Testing be as it may, we have sat down and asked ourselves, if we do not have enough supplies, what shall we do in terms of measures in ensuring that containment is upheld, but also ensuring that there's a surveillance mechanism. What we will be deploying shortly is what we are calling studies. So taking an area like Kawangware and asking our population, have they come into contact with any coronavirus? If they have, are there antibodies showing that there's going to be a serosurveillance prevalence study being undertaken? Thirdly, we've realized that we need to utilize our community health volunteers to ensure that they run for us what we are calling community surveillance, and ensure that they're utilizing a tool that out Purity from the crowd and say, Purity has a temperature, Purity and test Purity. So mechanisms we are putting in place to ensure that at the end of the day, with the challenges that we still have a surveillance system that is robust. With regard to 129 cases and their conditions, that's a very good question. We have a team of epidemiologists who are here with me today. We have Dr. Kuria here, who is heading the public health department. We are looking at our patients and segregating them in terms of their morbidity. So are you a person who has suffered COVID-19? Do you have diabetes? Do you have hypertension? Are you asthmatic? Do you have perhaps issues, that would be able to predispose you to the disease or affect your management? We have this data for you, and we will share it with you tomorrow. We'll also be able to give you a disaggregation of our severe cases, those who had comorbid states and those who did not. So this will be coming up tomorrow. We have that data. I'd like the Director of Public Health, Dr. Kuria, to elaborate further on the fumigation and the strategies we are putting in place in the markets. Karibu, Daktari. Fumigation.
Thank you, Madam CS, members of the state. I would probably respond to this in relation to the case that is from Kawangware and any others that we may have picked up having turned positive from any of our estates in Nairobi and indeed in the country. What normally happens is that when a case turns positive, we send out our ambulances through the rapid response teams to pick up those positive cases. Another group then follows that team that does contact tracing around that case. Some of them who may have symptoms then are isolated immediately, and others who do not. Sometimes we take samples for testing and advise them on the further quarantine measures. But on that particular area where I've picked up the case, we normally have another team that follows, that does fumigation of that area, and we follow up the following day with further contact tracing and further fumigation within 1 week. You may be aware that yesterday we handed over the management of health services in the Metropolitan to the Nairobi Metropolitan Service. And one of the issues that arose that we need to partner with them is what we have been doing in the quarantine centers and even where we have picked up patients, that we want to partner with them and make sure that program runs the fumigation, and furthermore, expand that even to those areas that are called the informal settlements, that we increase our fumigation measures in partnership with the Nairobi Metropolitan Service. So yes, we do fumigation, and we continue doing that in partnership with the Nairobi Metropolitan Service.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. As to the state of preparedness of the counties, I want to thank the governors across the country who have done quite a lot to prepare for this. And as we speak, all our 47 counties have each set up an emergency unit. As you are aware, His Excellency the President directed that 5 billion be released to the counties. This is going to help the counties build capacity. And I was just speaking to the chair, Governor Oparanya. They're in the process of ensuring that they are better prepared with what they have received from national government. And we also are releasing masks through our provincial teams. As of today in our meeting, we're discussing how, as we distribute relief food to families displaced, how we can also be distributing masks and sanitizers. And I'm very grateful to the Ministry of Health for the plans they have put in place through our county emergency teams to be in a position to ensure that even as we distribute food, we don't devolve corona to those camps and to the counties. So I want to assure Kenyans that a lot is being done to give that support to the counties. And from the Ministry of Devolution, we also have the Kenya Devolution Support Program. Over 4 billion will soon be released to the counties. And we are urging the counties to prioritize the COVID emergency responses in utilizing these funds to build capacity, to have more bed capacity. There are some that just need a few millions to be able to complete that. So this is the support we are giving them, and we want to assure them of continued support. But for the displaced, we want to assure Kenyans that we have enough food in the country, and we will be able to support all those who have been displaced so that they are able to receive this support. But even as we support them, we want to be cautious so that we heed the Ministry of Health guidelines. Thank you very much.
Yes, I fundamentally went to the Committee of Labor and raised issues that were concerning game constituency. I was given an assurance by the then minister that pragmatic steps will be made so that members of my constituency who are above 70 would be put on that bracket. Nothing to date has been done. And when I reflect on it, I thought maybe fundamentally that was just a public relations exercise. So I hope when the minister is coming, it's not another PR exercise that I was taken through. They need to come up with deep pragmatic steps to help the aged members of our society. And as you rightfully put it, also our brothers who are here, the Honorable Ngwenyi, can also benefit. Thank you.
Honorable Sabina, you appear to be burning to say something. What is it?
Mr. Speaker, I just want to appreciate that this is a very important matter. And as a chair with the experience of the limitation of members who can actually attend a specific meeting, Mr. Speaker, I would like to call upon the clerk and maybe yourself and the management of this house that members can be able to follow some of these meetings online. Mr. Speaker, yesterday my committee held a meeting where we used Zoom, and we were able even to have members who are at home and who really wanted to interact with our CS participate. So my request is, Mr. Speaker, even if he says Tuesday, not all of us will be able to access to the meeting room. Even today when we're meeting at the chairs, we have limitation because of the COVID. And so I would urge this house to fast track the issue of virtual meetings so that as many members of this house can participate. And with that, then, we'll be able to give our views. On the same one, Mr. Speaker, on NHIF, I think there are people somewhere within the government who just want these things to fail. We have enough money. He has just asked for 3.5 billion. We are allocating money for the elderly on NHIF. I think once we streamline this money, Mr. Speaker, we can be able to save a lot. And the 3 billion he's asking, we might not even need to look for new money. The money is there, we just need to reorganize how we are doing our things. Because there's still the money for vulnerable, where some of the elderly are still included. So once we formalize these things, Mr. Speaker, we can get the 3 billion Honorable Wario was asking for. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Moses Kuria, don't just shout point of order. If you just want to contribute to this thing, just rise in your place now and make your statement.
Chair, I think this is a very fundamental.
Which chair?
Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will stick to my point because I think I have a very fundamental point here. This is a very weighty matter. And as you can see from the mood of the House, it is of concern to many members. It is my request, Mr. Speaker, that the session that the chair of the Labour Committee wants to invite the Cabinet Secretary do happen in this chamber so that as many members can be able to attend. And further, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the Cabinet Secretary, I am aware that there is a draft Social Protection Act that was prepared by the former Cabinet Secretary. So if we can be able to fast track and even come with it on that day so that we can look at means of fast tracking the same. So that Honorable Janet Ongera has talked about a very important issue. If we have got our women reps, why not entrust them with the issue like sanitary towels? If we have got members of parliament, why can't we entrench our role in managing this program and we are the ones who make the law? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
You see, again, it's a mistake that there is any debate. Because you can, even as much as you complain, please, it is your responsibility to make laws and unmake them. So please, address the law, look at the areas of deficits, and make appropriate adjustments. So on the point about meeting here in the chamber, remember there is a protocol that after every usage, like today, this place has to be disinfected. In fact, twice before it is ready for use on Wednesday next week. Because as you can see, these carpets are quite prone to depositing some of those droppings. So it's not known where you go to anyway. Some of the places you may visit could be quite risky. So it might not be possible, Honorable Moses Kuria, for the meeting to happen here, because if it's on Tuesday and the chamber will be due for use on Wednesday, then it may make it difficult, even for the public health officers to. But of course, the mini chamber is available. The mini chamber, county hall, is available. And I'm sure it can take slightly more people than the normal committee rooms. I think, Honorable Wario, that should satisfy. The Honorable Washiali.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I sincerely thank you for this opportunity. I rise to request for a statement regarding virtual learning. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of Departmental Committee on Education and Research regarding introduction of virtual learning. Honorable Speaker, we are all aware that COVID-19, a novel pandemic, is a serious international and that has led to closure of our schools since March 15, 2020. However, it is concerning that despite the government having established virtual learning for home-based schooling for learners across the country, not all pupils and students have equal access to television and mobile telephone gadgets with internet access due to social, economic differences. Further, many parents and guardians lack the necessary academic capacity and background to assist their children to benefit from homeschooling through e-learning. Honorable Speaker, in view of these concerns, I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Education and Research the following. 1. What measures has the Ministry of Education put in place to ensure equal access to virtual learning by all learners, especially those living in informal settlements and rural areas? 2. Could the ministry confirm that the physical infrastructure as electricity and internet connectivity is available to all learners? 3. What plans has the ministry put in place to ensure that the e-learning platform is sufficient for preparation of the candidates who are due to sit for the national exams at the end of this year? 4. Could the chairperson confirm whether the ministry has deployed quality assurance teams to assess the coverage and impact of e-learning on learners across the country? And if so, could the chairperson table a report on the same? And last, Mr. Speaker, could the government consider postponing the national examinations scheduled for October, November 2020 to preferably next year on the grounds that learners will not have been adequately prepared to sit for the national exams this year? I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I want to repeat, I sincerely thank you because the session for requests of statements had expired. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.